What do we create with a finishing run? Yeah, new make spirit, the stuff that goes in the bottle, the stuff that goes in the barrel. Yeah. But what else? You mean the stillage? You know, yeah, no, that's a clear liquid. There's nothing much happening organics. But you do remember that the new make spirit is basically the hearts, right? What happens to the heads? What happens to the tails? And all those beautiful flavors in there, even though maybe too concentrated to make it to your heart's cut. Your new make spirit is your heart's cut. We're left with heads and we're left with tails. What can we do with them? Well, one of the stories I heard was about distilleries stating that only 0.1% of the alcohol left the building in how do you say it, not in a bottle or not in a barrel, etc., etc. Some alcohol in the grain that went to the pigs of the farm next door. And when I cut, and you've seen me cut with the brandy some time ago, you lose more than that. Even on an iStill, you lose much more than 0.1% on heads and tails cuts. And they were eminent about it. And I said, how do you do it? And they said, well, what we do is we just return those heads and tails back to the stripping run, and then we reprocess them. I'm like, really? How do you do that? Because the separation power is only one and another one. And the result is this, and then how do you do that? That doesn't work, because the more heads and tails you add into the next run, well, the next run will be like this, right? And the next tails cut will be like this. You'll just overrun your drink with more and more heads and tails, because there's no separation power. There's not a lot of separation power in a traditional still. Yeah, that's what we do. No, that's what you don't. And that's the third cycle, the last cycle I want to speak to you about, the last virtuous cycle I call hydroseparation. You can take the heads and tails, put them in, let's say, a barrel, preferably see-through, add water, and bring them back to 17% or below. Alcohol is a solvent. The more water you add to alcohol, the lower the alcohol percentage, the lower the alcohol percentage, the lower the solvency power. If you bring it to 17% or below, the heads and tails, just by adding water, the actual heads and tails molecules, not the associated flavor molecules, but the actual low boiling point, high boiling point alcohols come out of solution. The tails start to float on top like a film, like gasoline on water, pink, purple, weird colors. The heads sink to the bottom where they form a cloudy ball almost. That's why you need a see-through vessel for this. If you have a tap over here, you can basically, with every run, take out a certain amount of that and add that back to your stripping run. So they weren't lying to me. They were reprocessing heads and tails back into the next stripping run. But they forgot to tell me, and that's what we later discovered, or in a way developed, because we're pushing this, to recover the ethanol that is in heads and tails. Heads and tails are hearts contaminated with low and high boiling point molecules and associated flavors. But they're mostly ethanol. 98%, 99% of your alcohol basically is good alcohol. Just the beginning and the end are tremendously infected with those minority impurities that are in there. By hydroseparating them, we're creating a lot of reusable ethanol, but it's also very flavorful, because this layer is so condensed now that all the tails associated flavors left in there blend over into the ethanol we now recovered through hydroseparation. The heads are so concentrated that the fruity heads associated flavors, not the bad stinky alcohols, go over to the ethanol. So we can use this to really brighten up, to intensify the whiskey, the rum we're trying to make. Backsetting is about backhand, whiskey and rum. Dunderpit, rum, and in a way it's applied for whiskey as well, through not cleaning or using wooden fermenters. Both of them highlight the third dimension in product, the back of mouth kind of feeling. If we look at hydroseparation, you can apply it to both things. One of the mistakes I made was a customer of mine that made rum, and he said, I want to use the hydroseparation cycle. How did it go? I went to the course. Can you help me make sure I got it right? And I said, yeah, no problem. The only thing I want you to recycle, because you're using an iStill, is I want you to recycle your tails, because the head's cut on an iStill is so incredibly small that there's no alcohol recovery left there, basically. It's not worth it. So he started hydroseparating his tails. And shit, what happened over time, his tailsy flavors in his rum got up, and not the fruity forward flavor. So my mistake was that I should have said, use both. Even though you won't recover a lot of alcohol from the heads, you will reap the benefits of all those very nice fruity flavors that now transition from the heads faction into the recovered hydroseparated ethanol. So we changed the procedure. He's all happy now. He just ordered a new iStill, and they get bigger every time I speak to him, so that's great. And this cycle is called hydroseparation. Again, I don't want you to use all 3 cycles. I don't even want you to use 2 cycles. But if you feel comfortable with all the rest and you've tested everything out, maybe choose one to your liking. Start playing with it. Is this helping me getting the flavors I want? Highlight the flavors I want. Maybe make a rum or a whiskey or a brandy, right? Hydroseparation is the only one you can use for a brandy, because with hydroseparation you can also highlight the fruity flavors. Backsetting, dunder pit, back-end flavors doesn't work for a brandy, overpowers it. Rum and whiskey. Hydroseparation, you can decide which one you want, or you want both. So you can highlight a brandy as well. So maybe you make a brandy and you say, like, I save some of those hydroseparated recovered heads and tails, and only if I want to make a special release, that's what I add, because I add more flavor to my stripping or my finishing run. I create more flavor in the end result. So it's also a way, and all of these procedures are a way to differentiate your product or incorporate them in your standard operating procedure. Backsetting, you need to do a few cycles, or use them for specialty products that needs to be above top shelf. Now, I hope you found that interesting. We'll try and blend in a few sheets so that it is more self-explanatory than sometimes my drawings are. For me, it was lovely to talk to you about these topics, even though it's like tropical conditions over here. This is one of the final videos in the normal course that we do at iStill headquarters, but I think we'll still have quite a few videos to come to dive into certain specific topics, because the fun about the online university program is that we're not limited by the 4 days that we normally have to fill your heads up, right? You can stop watching a video when you're done and catch up a week later when you feel like there's some room left or some room become available to actually make sure that you can absorb new information. So with the fact that you can absorb more information because you can potentially watch and follow the online iStill Distilling University for weeks instead of just 4 days, we're going to add more and more info. And this is also where you come in. Ask that question. You know, there's not such a thing as a stupid question. Ask a question so we have another topic. Propose a topic so we have another reason to make a video. Let's make this an interactive kind of thing and an ongoing kind of thing, because that's what learning is, right? Learning is ongoing. It's not like like it used to be. No, I'm a master and that's it. Keep on learning. If you keep asking questions, we'll be triggered to keep on trying to provide the right answers.